Hello, chess fans! This is Rick from Chess to Impress with number 144 in the series Viewers Games. If you would like your game to be analyzed on the Chess to Impress YouTube channel, you can send it to me by email to classroomchess64@gmail.com. Today is a very special one. It is the turn of Mateus from Brazil. And Mateus is a viewer that's very dear to my heart. He's been a very long-standing supporter of the Chess to Impress channel and has always been very generous as well. Always in the comments, always something positive to say, and his contributions are also very eloquent and entertaining. So it's great to finally do a video of one of Mateus's games. Mateo says, "Hi Rick, I learned the basic rules of chess from my uncle when I was 8 or 9 years old, but I was not interested very much in the game because I did not have so many people to play against. My real interest in chess came only a few years ago by accident, when I discovered that Magnus Carlsen and I were born on the exact same day, November 30th, 1990. Since then I started to follow tournaments and I became pretty much addicted to chess. In 2017 I was searching for coverage of the games of the Tata Steel tournament in Wijk aan Zee, and I discovered a Chess to Impress channel, which was by the time only the second chess channel I've ever seen, right after that of Mato Jelic. I was of course rooting for Magnus, but Wesley So came out as the winner. Nowadays I'm an avid chess enthusiastic, but I'm not that good at it. That's why I took a long time to send you a game. But here it is, my immortal game. Regards, Mateus. So we're going to look at Mateus Immortal. And it was played on Lead Chess. It was a blitz game, 3 minutes plus a 2-second increment per move. And it was played on the 19th of January 2020. Mateus was black in his game, so we're going to look at his game from the black side. And his opponent was Play Saker with a rating of 1253. Mateus had a rating of 1186 when this game was played. And white opened with the c-pawn. c5, the English opening. e3, knight c6, and b3. White is avoiding theory, or doesn't know theory, and plays a very rare line. But not a bad line. d6 from our hero Mateus, bishop b2, knight f6, knight c3, g6. Mateus is going to fianchetto his king's bishop, knight d5, bishop g7, knight f3 developing, and Mateus castled his king. Bishop e2, and here it turns out that there is already a nice tactic in the position, even though both players have made just normal moves, apart from white playing twice with that knight. But here on move 8 there's already a tactic. If you want to look for yourself, put the video on pause and see how black can win a pawn here. It is with a nice move, knight takes d5, not found by Mateus. Because if you take that knight, then there is bishop takes b2, that bishop is unprotected, attacking the rook, so rook b1, counter-attacking the bishop, and also the knight is still attacked. Bishop f6 is the best move according to the engine, and then white has to take his piece back. B takes c6, and Mateus has won a pawn, and also has the bishop pair. This is good for black. What after knight takes d5, you don't take the knight, but you take on g7 first. Yes, that is possible, but then black has a nice in-between move, knight takes e3, attacking white's queen. So you really have to take that knight, and then the king takes back on g7, also with an extra pawn for Mateus. So that was possible after bishop e2, so even in the opening it's good to look out for tactics. Mateus didn't find it and played bishop e6 instead. Attacking the knight, it makes a lot of sense now to take on f6, bishop takes, and e takes. But in this position, white decides to go back with the knight, instead of taking on f6, keeping pieces on the board. a6 from Mateus, white castled, queen d7, and d4, with an obvious threat to win a piece with d5, forking 2 of Mateus' pieces. The best way to react against that is to take on d4, and after e takes, play d5, as pointed out by the engine, with a roughly equal position. But Mateusz decides to go for it. He played bishop h3 here. Objectively a very bad move, but in a blitz game, objectivity is often not the most important factor. White can just take that bishop. It wasn't played. And after queen takes h3, white can play rook e1. And now what for black? He only has the queen in the attack. And white is ready to kick the queen with bishop f1. That way. And a move like knight g4 doesn't even threat anything. There's no mate threat on h2 because the knight is protecting that square. So after bishop h3, white can take that piece, and there's not much of an attack. But the psychology worked because white did not dare to take on h3. He played rook e1 instead. And Mateusz followed up with queen g4. And now there is a mate threat on g2. Bishop f1 is a good move here, pointed out by the engine, just protecting the mating square, but g3 was played by white. And Mateusz keeps attacking. Knight h5. Knight e5 was played by white. Interesting move, good move. It is a discovered attack on the queen. And the objectively best move is to save the queen, play the queen away to a safe square. But then this game would not have become Mateusz's immortal game. And Mateusz sacrificed the queen. He takes on e5. Bishop takes g4 and knight takes g4. Mateusz has two pieces for the queen. And that shouldn't be enough, but the game goes on. Knight d5 played by white. And f5. Mateusz keeps going forward with all his might, throwing all his pieces forward. Knight takes e7 check. That's a pawn. King steps aside and knight back to d5. White is totally winning with his extra material, and this loss of time to win a pawn doesn't do any damage to his position. But Mateusz goes on. Rook f7, preparing to double rooks on the f-file. White played f3, and again Mateusz ignores the attack on his knight on g4 and plays rook a f8. And by now this is the best way to play. Mateusz won't save the game by retreating his pieces when they are attacked. He has burned his bridges a long time ago. All-out attack is the only option. White said, thank you very much, I'll take that piece. And Mateusz took back with the f-pawn, opening the f-file for his rooks. Queen e2, good move, connecting the rooks and covering the f2 square, which is the invasion square for black's rooks. Knight f6 from Mateusz. He's going to reroute his knight to e4, where it will also attack the f2 square. And here knight takes f6 is a logical move, trading an attacker. That makes a lot of sense. Soon black will run out of attacking power. He will just not have enough pieces left. But knight takes f6 was not played by white. He played knight f4, blocking the f-file. Knight e4, and you can take another attacker off the board by taking on h3. And that knight is covering the f2 square, so you really have to take it. And then rook f1, fighting for the f-file. And now really black will run out of resources. But after knight e4, white decided not to take the bishop. He played knight e6, attacking the rook on f8. Mateusz comes in, rook f2, and it looks very dangerous for white. But if he keeps a cool head, he would have found knight takes f8. That's the best move here. It's giving back the queen. Rook takes e2 has to be played here. Rook takes, bishop takes, d takes c5 check. The bishop gives check to the king. King g8, c takes d6, and bishop takes d6. The dust has settled, and if we do a body count, white is 2 exchanges up and has a winning endgame. He has survived the attack on the king, who is no longer under threat. But in this position, white was getting very low on time and did not find knight takes f8. He did not have time to calculate that variation. He panicked. He played queen d3, collapsing under the pressure. He had only about 20 seconds left at this stage. and white is blundering a mate in 2 moves. Mateusz sees it. Do you see it as well? If you want to look, put the video on pause. It's not very difficult. Rook g2 check. The king only has 1 move, and knight f2 is checkmate, and Mateusz had won this game against a higher rated opponent. As Mateusz writes, the quality of play is suspicious to say the least, but this particular game made me happy because the final position is very nice. I leave it to you and the Chess to Impress community to decide if my sacrifices were indeed sacrifices or big blunders, says Mateusz. Well, Mateusz, I really enjoyed playing through this game and annotating it. It is obvious that your sacrifices were objectively incorrect, but practically it was correct, because it worked and you won the game. You threw everything but the kitchen sink at your opponent, and under time pressure he cracked. Well done, Mateusz, and thanks for sending in this game. I hope you enjoyed Mateusz Immortal. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up, please subscribe to Chess to Impress channel, and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.